Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the CX Goalkeeper Podcast. Today, I'm really thrilled to kick off the discussion with Warren Miles Pickup and discuss about marketing strategies. And if I think about the pre-discussion, it will be a blast. And therefore, stay tuned, listen to this episode. Hi, Warren. How are you?
I'm doing very well, thank you. How about yourself?
Super happy to have a discussion with you, to learn from you, and also to share what we are discussing with the audience. But before we kick off to discuss about marketing strategies, let's learn a bit more about you. Could you please introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Warren Miles Pickup. I am the Chief Marketing Officer and Chief Operating Officer of the Pixel Brands companies. So that would be Pixel True, Pixel Copy, and Pixel Publishing. I'm an avid investor. We invest in a number of different startups that come through our different organizations. And overall, just a sales leader and marketing consultant. Work with a number of companies and coaches, that sort of thing, to help them build out their businesses, and utilizing the skill sets of our three main organizations.
Thank you very much. And to learn more about you, you spoke also in the pre-discussion. You had a parenting podcast, and therefore
I did.
Keen to learn a bit more.
Yeah, I during the pandemic, my now business partner, who is a co-owner of the Pixel Brands with me, he and I had a podcast. That's actually how all of this came out of it. We had a podcast on parenting. So I was going through some unique parenting challenges at the time with my middle daughter, who was dramatically affected by COVID and by some bullying and those sorts of things. And we started a podcast that we would record at night and talk about, being flawed parents, essentially. So it was called The Flawed Dad's Guide to Parenting. And so we were perpetually learning new techniques, new strategies for parenting difficult situations. And it probably had the greatest impact on my parenting skills of anything that I have ever gone through, whether it be courses or books or anything like that. It was just having those discussions for an hour every week to dive deep into a single topic. It was absolutely remarkable. I would say if anybody is thinking about hosting a podcast, just doing it so that you're committing that time to learning that topic is incredibly valuable. And so I would imagine that, given that you've done 180 plus episodes on customer experience at this point, that if nothing else, you are the consummate professional in that area at this point, just from concentrating this much time on the topic.
You are so right. I'm always saying this is like a masterclass for me. I don't need to have courses. I read books. I still listen to podcasts, but I am learning so much. It's incredible having this podcast.
Yeah.
Warren, which values drive you in life?
Sorry, repeat that one. Which value
drives you in life?
Providing value to others. I am a massive advocate for value first. I have made that a core principle of everything that I do. Every engagement that I have with other people is all about, how do I drive more value for them out of the interaction? Can I make sure that when somebody is leaving an interaction with me, they have gotten something positive out of it? So that whether it be inspiration, whether it be knowledge, whether it be, return on investment, whatever it may be, I desperately want to ensure that people are gaining value out of every interaction with me. I'm a huge believer that reciprocation happens naturally, and if you are constantly giving of yourself, in the end, it will return.
It's incredible values, and as I know you since a while, I can confirm that it's the reality. How much you are sharing with other people for free, it's incredible, and super happy to have this opportunity. And thanks to Dennis Wakabayashi putting us together, having interesting chats. Now we know a bit more about Warren Miles Pickup, our today's top player, and now we kick off the game. We start discussing about marketing. But the first question I would like to understand is, you had the transition from financial advisor to CMO, CCO in the creative industry. How were you able to leverage your previous experiences in your new career and your leadership skills?
Yeah, that's a very good question. I would say that the finance industry is a massively oversaturated industry. It is there are so many players to it. There is so much money going into marketing, advertising, sales, all of that, that if you can sell within that industry, moving into other industries that don't necessarily have that saturation, where the opportunities are much broader, where you don't have the significant compliance and regulatory constraints of finance, it's like a whole new world, and you can take those tactics that you were limited to and expand upon them in such a massive scale that you can take advantage of industries where they really don't know what they're doing, where it is being run by creatives who, some are incredibly great salespeople, but the majority of them are very good at what they do, which is create. And being able to then leverage creatives in a sales capacity. I've got an exceptional team of creatives, being able to take their skill set and promote it in the same ways that I would have from a relationship development perspective, from a heuristics and cognitive biases perspective, all those sorts of things, to a marketplace that hasn't seen that type of sales technique before. It's incredibly powerful. So the transition, while completely different in industries, was somewhat natural for me in changing from selling a financial product. I sold about $2 billion worth of financial products in my career, to now selling creative services, design, copywriting, self-publishing, those sorts of things. It's not a huge transition like you would think. It really is just meeting people's goals and understanding their problems, and then creating a product that is going to help them solve that problem.
And you mean from 2 billions financial services you sold now to the 4 billions you're selling now, correct?
Not quite. I'm still working on that. That took me about 16 years to sell $2 billion worth of product. And I've only got a couple of years here under my belt selling the creative services. I'm hoping that by that point, yes, I'll get to that level, but it's a long ways to go. We're only at a couple $1 million in sales so far.
But the growth can be really quick.
Yeah.
And you are speaking about marketing techniques, marketing strategies, and so on. Perhaps can you share some of the known marketing strategies? No secret, please, or if you want to share secrets, even better, that you implemented with your company Pixel to drive growth, to ensure competitiveness, because I think it's also quite difficult in this market you're working now.
Yeah, it's very difficult, particularly in the marketplace for our design agency, where we are a subscription-based design company. There's quite a bit of competition there, and so we had to come up with ways to be competitive versus companies that were offering at a lower price. There is a lot of competition for those very, very inexpensive discount type services. And we didn't want to be competing in that space. So we had to come up with a way to present our value at a kind of mid-tier level. We wanted to make design accessible for every company. So you're not having to bring in your own in-house design company. So we had to come up with a bit of a competitive offer. And the sales techniques that we really used to do that was, one, understanding the target clientele that we were focused on. Two, constantly driving value first, so presenting value before asking for the business, whether that's in articles, whether it's in videos, whether it was free graphics, those sorts of things. We essentially built a very large lead and sales funnel by giving away a lot of the basics that whether it be a company or a designer or an agency would be utilizing. And then as they experience the quality of the low value goods that we were creating, the low value is low cost, low barrier to entry type products. So illustrations, UI kits, those sorts of things. They became accustomed and comfortable with our work, so they would then move to, hey, okay, well, why don't we give you guys a try on this custom package, and then they would move up to a subscription service, and then they'd wind up as an enterprise client with us, and so on and so forth. So we really built kind of a product ladder or a product staircase for people to get involved in with our company, to get accustomed to purchasing with us, and then moving higher and higher up our staircase until they get to our highest value products. So we really made sure that we were building out something that was of immense value for those individuals. In terms of other sales techniques, we've used a lot of different ones. We're starting out our LinkedIn live events. We're going to be starting soon. What else have we done? Ebooks, all sorts of things. One of the big things we did was build kind of vertical companies. So our design agency was our first business. Then we built our copywriting agency because we recognized that there was a need within our existing clients for copywriting for the designs that we were doing. And then we noticed that there were coaches, consultants, those sorts of things that wanted to take the copywriting a step further from blogs and articles into books. And so we created a self-publishing agency that helps people to get published. And so by building each one of these, they all feed into our principal business, which also feeds business back out to our other businesses. So we created this kind of cycle between all of the businesses to meet all of the client needs that we had.
It's really interesting. And you mentioned that this staircase, I think it's a known marketing way to do that. But
Yeah.
what I found really interesting, and towards the discussion for me was, oh, it's still working. You said we need to bring our customer from the free of charge products to the next level, to the next level, to the next level. And there are several campaigns, several ways to move up customers. And we spoke about email marketing.
Yes.
And, a group of people asked you, are still working? And you said, yes. Could you please share some insight of you're doing that, how it's still working? Because from my point of view, I get, I don't know how many emails, and 80% of them, I delete them. How can you do that?
Yeah. And a lot are going to go to the trash can, and that's fine. It really is a numbers game, and you're trying to make sure that you're presenting information that addresses a problem that may or may not be occurring at that time, and you're trying to find the right person at the right time. So it's just a matter of repeat, so that when somebody is going through the problem, it happens to pop up right in front of them. So you have to write, first you have to segregate your list. You really need to be breaking it down into what people are interested in, and only delivering them emails based on what they have already explicitly shown interest in. If you start sending them emails about different topics within your product lineup, you're going to lose them, because they're no longer even going to read your subject line, because they're going to assume it's not directed specifically towards them. So when you are sending somebody an email for the first time, you need to be understanding what links or what pieces they're clicking on within that email, and then creating triggers so that creates a tag for them, so that anytime you're creating an email about that particular topic, you're only sending it to people that are tagged on that particular interest. Then you check that next email, you build tags within it for the next set of clicks, so that you can continue to develop an identification for that particular potential client, that lead, that already existing client, whoever it is in your email list. And so you're specifically targeting them with only the messages that are going to be appropriate to them. The next is making sure that your subject line clearly identifies the problem you are trying to solve. It cannot be bland. Sometimes the funny subject lines will work, but the majority of the time it needs to say, do you have this problem, right? It needs to be very specific to solving an issue that they may be facing at that particular time. And then making sure that you get right to the point with the email. You're not dragging it out. There isn't, a 6-paragraph story leading into it. This is not, recipe recipes on a website where, you know, you've got to read about somebody's experience with lasagna for, you know, their lifetime before you get the recipe. It needs to be, this is how you fix it right here, right now. And then driving them to action. And it's all about using that emotive language that causes them to click. And then once you get them to click, you're driving them to whether it be a booking or a landing page that is specific to that unique problem. And it's driving them to, what do you want them to do right now? Do you want them to purchase? Do you want them to call? Whatever it is. And then A/B testing that to make sure that you've built out the best possible scenario for capturing the highest number possible.
The process seems quite clear. It's complex because there are a lot of variables, but basically what you are saying is what we CX professional are also discussing about is hyper-personalization, identifying how to target somebody, creating always value, and so on. And from one side, less for you, more for us, CX professional. It's not something that we invented, but it's something that in marketing is already there since years. This is the first learning, and therefore also this collaboration together with this marketing expert. It's extremely important to bring out these messages. And how are you also structuring these messages? For me, and we discussed a bit in the pre-discussion, how ChatGPT and generative AI change this game. Because a really stupid example, if I open my LinkedIn, I see, I don't know, 20, 40, 60 posts, and I would say 80% of them are written by ChatGPT. Let's say the smart guys are writing that with ChatGPT and then changing that and perhaps using also the structure that you mentioned. Other guys are a bit more lazy, let's say that, and they copy paste from ChatGPT, including the blanks and so on that should be filled by the person. How is this generative AI changing this game?
I mean, for the three different businesses that we have, it's in changing them in three different ways. From a design perspective, there's still a hesitancy for a lot of people to use things like ChatGPT for image generation, that sort of thing. It's being used more for ideation than it is for implementation. There still needs to be this human touch because AI hasn't gotten to the point where it's, you know, where the naming or writing on it or anything like that is incredibly clear. So you're having to pull it, take it to Adobe or Canva or wherever you're doing your editing, and then add and change it. So it's being used a lot more for ideation there. In terms of the copywriting, the writing business has changed a lot in the past year and a half. But I would say that the majority of people that are utilizing AI are not utilizing it properly, and they're being penalized by Google and search engines in terms of that they're not hitting all of the marks that they need to be helpful, which is what Google is really prioritizing right now. They're also writing for SEO, and they're not writing for the reader. And so that the language that you're getting out of a ChatGPT article is not emotive. It's not designed to drive action. It's just an information dump. And there's a lot of errors and problems with that. And so you're not keeping people on the page. When people go to read it, they're not necessarily staying and taking action on that page. So if your bounce rate is increasing or your time on page is decreasing because people aren't getting the value that they need out of the article, you're going to be penalized by search engines for that. And so having human written content that specifically contains like the empathy that we need from a writing perspective, you still want human writers for those types of articles. And so as much as it has drawn a huge amount of people because it's extremely cheap, you can produce articles en masse. They're just not great articles. And so you're doing a bit of a disservice for your reader because you're not giving them you're not giving them custom information. It's just general information that you're pulling off of GPT. So I would would highly recommend that people still utilize human content, use it again for ideation, for creating outlines, those sorts of things, but go and get an actual human writer that knows how to write emotively, that knows what cognitive biases are, knows how heuristics go into articles to drive action, those sorts of things, because you'll get significantly better results. We work with some news agencies that do a lot of Amazon review type articles, those sorts of things. And we have consistently outranked AI articles because they're not able to drive the action to get somebody to actually click and go on to the next step. From a book publishing perspective, again, huge changes because of the amount of books that are being pumped out there right now with AI content. And it's very dangerous because of this like, echo feedback loop that happens within AI generated content, and it's not always accurate information. And books are one of those things that we have always taken as gospel. Like we have always put books at a higher level of accountability in terms of truth and believability. And there is so much out there now that is just not the case. And so the industry for self-published books is expanding massively as people move away from traditional publishers, but there's so much noise out there now that it's much like any social media post or anything like that. You have to be repeating in order to show up on feeds, in order to show up on the Amazon bestsellers or anything like that. There's this constant requirement for repetition and for self-promotion in order to have any success in the area.
It's extremely interesting, and you shared about these technology topics, how it's impacting your business. I know that you are working also with virtual assistants, and you're working with a lot of different people, and with your 3 different businesses, you are also have a lot of different customers. How do you effectively manage and motivate these remote teams that you are working together in all these different businesses?
Yeah, it's a challenge. I'll tell you. I'm very fortunate that I have some incredible team members. I've got some great people working with me. I really focus on hiring people with an owner's mindset. That is absolutely vital to me, that they feel ownership over their department, over their area of specialty. And so I also make sure that I don't have more than 7 direct reports. Having worked with a lot of people in the past, I want to make sure that my team is very concentrated and focused, so that when I'm giving information, it's to those people and then they can disseminate it. And I try to make sure that, again, for each one of those, there's a maximum of 7 direct reports for each. And so we kind of have this structure that's not too flat, but it's also not too tall. It's a perfect balance between the two. And the team members that I work with very closely, I make sure that they are instilling an owner's mindset in the rest of the team members as well, so that everybody has accountability over their area. We also try to do a lot of cultural sort of things, like we'll have a remote Christmas party. We have all kinds of events and those sorts of things where people get to see Graham, my business partner, and I doing karaoke or having fun, so that there's an atmosphere of entertainment amongst the group, so that they're comfortable sharing ideas and communicating with each other. And then they, like our design team, as an example, has huddles and all sorts of things to try and make sure that they're connecting with each other, so that it's not just working remote. They're not just sitting in their home wherever in the world they happen to be, feeling isolated. We want to make sure that from a mental health perspective as well, there's lots of engagement engagement and interaction, so that people feel like they're a part of a team and that they're not lonely and just receiving messages and having to deal with everything through Slack or anything like that, that there's some face-to-face interaction taking place as well.
Thank you for touching this cultural topics, and I think we already have something for the next episode we can have together, because this discussion is coming to an end. But in the extra time, I still have 3 questions for you. The
Sure.
first one is, fast forward in 10 years from now, we are back on the CX Goalkeeper podcast. What we're discussing about?
Ooh, that's a really good question. What will we be discussing about? I think we're probably discussing, I think we'll still be discussing AI. I think that it will be an entirely different beast by then. I mean, if we look at what's happening right now in terms of how quickly it's changing, I think that's a part of it. And I think we'll probably be discussing marketing, advertising, and customer experience in a total different format in the way that people experience it as they move away from a 2D experience to more of a 3D and virtual experience. I think that, you know, this conversation will be had, you know, virtually in a world where we're both wearing headsets and we're experiencing the true virtual office. I think 10 years down the road, we're having a completely different experience in the way we're podcasting, in the way that we're holding online meetings, those sorts of things.
And I hope that I can spill a beer to you and get it digitally to you. What's the best way to contact you?
LinkedIn is the best way. So just if anybody searches up Warren Miles Pickup on LinkedIn, there's only 8 Miles Pickups in the world, so it'd be pretty tough to find the wrong one. So yeah, if you find me there, you can reach out and have a conversation with me.
Thank you. And to the audience, you will find, as usual, all this information also in the show notes. And now the last question is Warren's golden nugget. It's something that we discussed or something new to leave to the audience.
A golden nugget to leave the audience with. I would say that as a salesperson, a lot of people are hard on salespeople. They feel like sales is a dirty word. I would say if you are representing a product or a service that you truly believe is in the best interest of the person you're talking to, sales is not a dirty word. You are trying to present them with something that is of value to them that they don't know about, or they may not fully understand, and that you pushing for them to make a choice on it is not a bad thing. Because you know the benefit that they will receive as long as you are positioning a product where they are going to achieve a greater return than you are going to achieve. You don't have to receive a negative return, but you have to make sure that every interaction, somebody is going to, you're purposely looking for them to get the better of you. Both are positive, but they're getting more than you. And if you're doing that, sales is the most amazing place that you could possibly work.
And with these words, I can only say thank you very much, Warren, for this great discussion.
It's my pleasure.
Warren, please stay with me. To the audience, for today, it's everything. I hope that you enjoyed this discussion as much as I did. Please feel free to contact Warren or to contact me for any feedback, any inquiries. Happy to then send them to Warren. Thank you very much, and bye-bye. If you enjoyed this episode, please share the word of mouth, subscribe it, share it. Until the next episode, please don't forget, we are not in a B2B or B2C business, we are in a human-to-human environment. Thank you!